So now the turn of the men in their semi-finals, and quite a lot of Russian representation here. 24, Panzhinsky, well known to the Russian crowd, but perhaps better in classic rather than freestyle sprinting. Sergei Ustugov, a brilliant third yesterday in the 15 kilometers freestyle and the fastest qualifier, thus wearing bib number 1. Emil Iversen for Norway. Interesting that he's made it through. He's had a 6th place finish earlier in the season in Lillehammer. Nikita Krukov, another famous name here. Krukov, the Olympic champion from Vancouver, but in classic style. And then wearing for Parfanov. Parfanov, bronze medal in the under-23 Worlds back in 2010. And certainly a danger, but again I think better in classic style possibly than freestyle. But interesting in this semi-final, 3 Russians, 1 Norwegian, and in fact 4 Russians, 1 Norwegian and a Frenchman.
Well, it's like the Russian national championships. I agree, there's Panzhinsky better in the classic than the freestyle, and only since his Olympic silver medal, only 3 times in the top 10 since then.
So I better give you the numbers here. 4 is Parfanov, closest to you. 5 on the right-hand file there, that's Krukov. Ustugov wears 1, and Krukov wears 5, Panzhinsky wears 24. So that's the split there. Iversen of Norway, he's wearing bib 11, and Renard J for France, 18. And might find this pretty tough company here, because the Russians are real performers in here. This just shows you the reservoir of talent.
And a bit of a Russian roadblock up the sharp end. Ustugov put in a huge amount of work to get up to the front, but David, he had an advantage in the qualifying of 3.5 seconds faster than anybody around this track. So surely he can live with the confidence of his amazing form at the moment.
Well, it's interesting because the first medals at the World Championships are going to be in the sprint, and the sprint this year in the World Championships actually is in classic style. So this is going to be quite interesting, watching, you know, the sort of form here that Panzhinsky and Krukov can put in. And at the moment it's 3 Russians up front, but it's Ustugov, the fastest qualifier by some margin today.
And what's interesting, of course, Ustugov taking part yesterday in 15 kilometers classic. The others are out-and-out raw sprinters. They didn't.
Yeah, and Ustugov, though, seems to have limitless, boundless energy at the moment. And a freestyle weekend in here, but Ustugov down the big descent here, coming down in Indian file. And again, 2 to go through by right, and then the fastest loser. So time really important as they come to the bridge there. Make a note that 2:09, 2:10 as they enter the bridge and under the Wiesmann banner. And they've broken away. Ustugov on the right of your picture, and then 4 is Parfanov, who had a little look around. And Ustugov seemingly determined to win this. He didn't win the quarterfinal, but he seems to be determined to do this. Chasing hard on the far side is Iversen of Norway, and trying to get back into it in 4th place. Well, that's Krukov, but I don't think that's going to be good enough, but you just don't know. It just depends on the speed of the second semi-final.
David, so impressive. Ustugov, I love the way he's got this such a confidence. So when he places his ski, dropping all his body weight through, I don't think he's touchable on that last 50 meters if he's up in the first 3.
Well, he's very aggressive, Ustugov, and that time may be a very good time, 2:37.73.
And slightly worried, he put a huge amount of effort taking the wide line to get to the front early, which he held till the end. But he does have more recovery time going into the final than the next heat coming up.
Well, in the men's competition, no Finn Horgan Krogh, who is the leader of the World Cup rankings. Patukov, who's in 2nd place, he's here. And so a big opportunity for him, as you see, confirmation 2:37.73. Now, Iversen and Krukov are being highlighted there as being in lucky loser positions, but not yet confirmed. So here's the lineup for the second of the semi-finals here. Pellegrino for Italy, 4th place in the World Cup rankings in sprint, and Petukov in 2nd place. So there'll be a bit of needle there between them. Wearing 3, that was Pellegrino very quickly, who I think is in with a really good shout. And next to him is Petukov, looking a little pensive.
He's such a strong athlete and a strong mind.
8th closest due, Bernhard Tricher for Austria. And Tricher's done well to make the semi-final stages here. 22, that's Anisimov. Pretty well unknown, actually. So he'll be really pleased because he's already got a personal best by being in the semi-finals. And that score for Norway could be interesting with Score, because he has got some form. 10th a couple of years ago in Lahti, junior world silver medalist in his time. And Davidiarov, who was in yesterday's 15-kilometer freestyle race and closed in the latter stages to finish in 7th place. And there is Pellegrino. Pellegrino has to be, I guess, the favourite because of his performances. A winner already this season in Davos.
Davos and Val Muster. I know it was a stage win, but he looked so convincing, and beating Northug on the line, to the line on that occasion.
Important to win the semi-final because you get the better draw position for the final. So exactly the same course as the women. And look at that crowd there. Sadly, no blue sky, but a really passionate crowd. And they're lining the course here, which is one of the attractions of the sprint. Under starters' orders, 2nd semi-final.
Well, the nerves weren't twitching early. We often see an early start, but they all managed to hold the nerve till the gun went.
On the right of your picture, wearing 2, that's Petukov, and 22 just into the lead there, Anisimov. Nothing to lose, unknown, already a personal best, so just make the best of your way home. And interestingly, he's not doing it very quickly, even at this early stage.
I was about to say that, David. He's gone to the front and he's thinking, why did no one else take this? He really finds himself in a position I don't think that he wants at this point on the track. And it is very slow at the moment.
So it looks to me, because they're giving away so much time, Mike, that it may well be that already that first semi-final may yield up the 2 fastest
I think you're right.
Losers.
To this point, they've lost somewhat 3.5, 4 seconds to that earlier group. That'll be hard to turn around. So yes, maybe only 2 going through from this semi-final.
Indian file pretty well. And I'm surprised they don't want to take him on, really. Pellegrino's very tactical. He traditionally comes pretty late, but he's decided here that this course deserves respect and deserves being up in the action at the right time here, so he doesn't get caught. On the left of your picture, wearing bib number 2, there's Petukov. So the 2 main protagonists in this semi-final up there. Now, it's just a question of difference in styles here between these 2.
Well, Pellegrino, when he wants to kick in the tempo, he can press a turbo button and he can really give tempo. It's deep snow, David, which makes it a little more difficult for that incredible tempo. Petukov, sorry, on the far right, he is just so strong on these steep climbs.
Yeah, it's really hard work out there. Tricher on the left of the picture trying to follow Petukov there, and Pellegrino in 2nd place. So they're all on the chase now, and this is where you have the big advantage coming down this hill. And you can see here Petukov really going quickly. And well, they're not confirmed yet because anything can happen. 2:14 at the boot. That is much slower, Mike.
It was 2:09 last time, so only 2 will go through from this heat. Tricher played a good, cunning game there, pulling time back. But
look, Pellegrino cutting the corner there and saving precious, well, half metre by half metre. Pellegrino now, that very strong, rhythmical double poling there. That is brilliant sprinting by Pellegrino. And he may be 4th in the rankings behind Petukov, but he's certainly given him a lesson in finishing there.
That was great from Pellegrino. The tempo, when he wanted it, he just picked up the tempo, got himself a lead, and fairly comfortable to the line. But it is very slow, 2:42.7.
Yeah, so by my reckoning, unofficially, Emil Iversen and Nikita Krukov from Russia will go through to the final. And if that's the case, there's going to be 4 Russians, 1 Norwegian and an Italian in the men's final.
This was a good move from Pechukov. He wasn't going to let anyone past, and they picked up his pace in the final 20 meters to the top of this rise. And Pellegrino knew that he needed to be in second position going over the rise, which was the perfect strategy. The deep snow just makes it that little bit more difficult for your ski placement, but Pellegrino with a high tempo had no problems.
Yeah, that's very professional, isn't it? And he's looked really sharp all the way through the sprinting season, Pellegrino.
I think he's got to be a favourite for the World Championships.
Except it's in classic style.
Occasionally we've seen him up there in the classic.
As a junior, he was very successful in both codes. So I think you're right not to rule him out. Well, an exciting couple of finals coming up. There are your lucky losers, as we said, coming from the first semi-final. And this Russian crowd know that they've got plenty of involvement in the upcoming finals. Well, there is Jenny Öberg, and I mentioned that her season's best actually was 10th. And that was in Otapa in a classic race, so that bodes quite well. And her personal best actually is a 7th in Novo Mesto last season. That was a freestyle sprint, so this could be a fantastic opportunity for her to put herself into the Swedish sprint team for 2015 in Falun, her own hometown.
Well, that's got to be at the front of her mind, and she's done nothing wrong so far, David, and if she comes up with a similar strategy to hold the lead, and she seems to have the form to do just that, she has a strong chance of winning.
Well, I've always believed, Mike, in selecting, by and large, athletes who are on an upward curve of form. And, you know, we saw that yesterday with Ustigov. And it'll be interesting to see how the Swedes go with Jenny Öberg. That's Matvieva looking for her 2nd World Cup success. Lauren van der Graaf yet to win a World Cup sprint, but maybe she's got a good chance today here. 13, Jess Diggins for the United States. And you sense that the spirit, particularly in the women's team for the United States, is really high now. And remember, we're without the likes of Keegan Randall as well, who is thinking of the World Championships. But of course, again, that doesn't favour her because it's in classic style. Dotsenko, who has a major chance, as well as Jenny Öberg here. So is this going to be tactical, or is this going to be a flat-out run here? I think it's got to have some tactics early on. But it's clear, Mike, that as you reach the top of that climb, you've got to be in a challenging position. Very much so, and you just feel that Jessie Diggins, we saw it last time, she was taking no quarter. She wanted to be in the top 2 positions going over the rise. Everybody knows that, so it's going to be a major scrap to the top of that major climb. Yeah, her personal best is 5th in the World Cup. So away we go. Jenny Öberg on the right of your screen, as you'll see her in a moment, and there she is with Dotsenko just dropping in behind her. Van der Graaf, David, she often gets it so right when it comes to the semis and then the final. 6th, of course, in Val Mustair, and she got it wrong in the final. She got everything right prior to that. So after the prologue earlier today, the quarterfinals, the semi-finals, this is the 4th time round. So effectively, this is something like 6,000 meters they will have raced today, and Jenny Öberg very, very positive, and Dotsenko following her, and she's really turning the screw here, Jenny Öberg. She is not hanging about, and look how she's broken up this field. 3rd place there to Van der Graaf, and then there's a gap. I'll tell you what, David, it's a very brave strategy. She knows that top of this rise coming up is where she wants to be, and she's destroying the field early on. She had super skis from her serviceman in the semi-final. The glide that she got when she reached the top of the big, sharp climb as she descending was very, very impressive. Dotsenko coming up on the near side here. And this is the 4th time of asking. They did the run out, the semis, then the quarterfinals, and now the final. And she really is pushing this hard. Dotsenko deciding that she's having none of it. Yeah, and Jessie Diggins trying to get into it, and Matvieva on the right of your screen there, behind Dotsenko, and being rather left behind is Slind of Norway. But Jenny Øberg's got first call, and look at the tempo, momentum, and look how she's getting that weight down, shoulders over the knees. That's really good.
Well, she's certainly wanting to impress her selectors back home for the World Championships. What a pace she's managing and sustaining a good technique up here when the body is at its most fatigued.
She's absolutely determined to get to the top of this climb, to let her skis run down here. It's like sugar there. This is really hard work. Van der Graaf in second place there, and Jenny Øberg achieves her objective, and Dotsenko is only third. And Matvieva coming into this as well.
Øberg has destroyed, Slind destroyed Jessie Diggins, who I thought might be in the top three at the top of that rise. She couldn't live with the pace.
It's Matvieva who's really come into this, and this is really interesting here. There's Lauren van der Graaf there being chased down. Matvieva, who wears bib number 4, is getting back into this. She's right on the tails of Dotsenko, and it is Jenny Øberg who is leading Lauren van der Graaf at this particular moment now. And this the Swedish woman who's in front here, Matvieva, gaining on the far side, and Lauren van der Graaf hasn't seen her. And there's Matvieva coming in. Jenny Øberg clear. She's a World Cup winner for the first time, but Matvieva has stolen second place.
Where did she find that power, Matvieva? She was way back by some 40 metres, just 300 metres down the track. Great sprint from Matvieva.
Yeah, but I'd say also contributing to it, that van der Graaf and Dotsenko were just out of gas, and that helped Matvieva as well, but beautifully timed.
I think you're right, out of gas. The way that Øberg destroyed or put an incredible pace, there was no feelings in anybody's legs over the top of the rise.
Well, Jenny Øberg, are we going to see her in the World Championships?
That was a gutsy performance, David, to live with that kind of pace and survive, take the victory. Got to be impressive for the selectors.
I mean, at under 23, she actually finished third in the classic under 23 world final back in 2011. She was also 7th at 10 kilometres in the under 23 worlds 3 years ago. So there are indications that she can sprint in classic, but of course she's got, if she doesn't do well in this, might she be one half of the partnership that goes in the team sprint, which will be in freestyle? I
would say she's certainly looking good, and I know that the Swedes have got its final trials and final selections.
Well, Stina Nilsson's in there as well, you know. Stina Nilsson not here today, but flying high. But that is a moment, isn't it? You know, you can see Jenny there just really relishing this, 25 years of age.
And although Van der Graaf got it a little wrong, she wasn't expecting anyone to pass her. Still third place is great for the girl from Switzerland.
She's just taking this all in. This is photographically memorizing the crowd to her right where she is, and fastest qualifier wins the day. Really exciting to see someone, you know, achieve a dream.
And stamping her authority, her incredible pace throughout today, 4 times around this track. Not an easy task by any standards, and she coped so well with that pressure.
You see, tall, long levers.
Yeah, so impressive. She's almost tearful. Why not? Best day in her racing career.
And it was really almost gun to take, really, for Jenny Øberg. She got out quickly, was challenged by Dotsenko, but she really never gave up the lead.
And I think to be so fearless, David, to go out front is never ever easy, and often it backfires on you. She was brave enough to go out front early, and she then had to live with a crazy pace that she set. And in the process, destroying the rest of the field.
Now, Matvieva in this picture is only 4th.
So where did she get that pace from? She remained patient, and maybe Van der Graaf, she destroyed herself trying to stay with Øberg, and her legs were tired coming into the. You can see Van der Graaf there. She can't force the legs any more than she can at that time.
But you know, they come into the last 100 meters, and Matvieva is gaining ground, hand over fist. You don't really see it in that picture, unfortunately, but you do see the joy of a young woman just coming into, you know, her absolute prime, getting the victory there. And Natalia Matveeva, congratulations for an excellent second, beautifully timed. And then a photograph separating ultimately Lauren van der Graaf and Dotsenko. But interestingly enough, there little asterisks is there, which suggests that maybe the jury are actually having a look at something. The men's final is next. I should have been doing that. Yeah, welcome back to Rybinsk. Mike and myself deciding what we should have each been doing. But this is a real good lineup here, and a multiple of Russians. 4 Russians, 1 Norwegian, 1 Italian, and 11 Emil Iversen, the lone Norwegian in here. Boy, is he going to feel lonely amongst this lot. Federico Pellegrino, on the other hand, is the one that all the 4 Russians are going to be frightened of.
Well, they are. And what about Ustigov? He's done nothing wrong so far. He's been brave to go out fast to give himself an advantage. But that 15-kilometer yesterday, which he did, surely that has to be in his legs today, the fatigue.
So Nikita Krukov, the Olympic classic sprint champion, of course, he'll be looking for selection because it is classic sprints in Falun. Emil Iversen here for Norway. Well, 6th place, his personal best in Lillehammer earlier this season, so he can't be worse than that. He might be a little bit better, who knows? And then Parfanov. Well, Parfanov, interesting whether he can get into this. I just wonder, you know, with the likes of Pellegrino and Ustigov and Krukov around, I just wonder whether, you know, Parfanov to get into this. I think it's going to be really tight here. And one Ustigov. Ustigov seems to me very conscious of the fact that he's got to lay down these good results to get selection, and we're better than to do it in Russia, in Rybinsk. 3rd yesterday, brilliant at 15 kilometers freestyle, and then today in the final. And Pellegrino looking for another 100 points. Pellegrino, who actually is the multiple winner of sprints. So far, he's had 2 successes, 1 outright. That was in race 4 at Davos, and then, as you mentioned earlier on, Mike, he won the Val Muster sprint, which was part of the Tour de Ski.
Well, the good thing about Pellegrino, he's got this wise head on him in terms of the strategy. Of course, you never can predict what other people are doing, but he always kind of plays safe by placing himself mostly in the top 2, sometimes top 3 out of the grid. And that's where you want to be, especially in this course, in the top 3 at the moment.
He's also got the 7th gear, hasn't he? Because a little like Emil Jonsson, when he was at his absolute very best, you could see Emil Jonsson just turn the turbos on and go past everybody in a flash. And you sense that Pellegrino's got a bit of that at the moment.
Very much, but you've got to hand it to Ustigov, and it's like Usberg, so brave, so strong to lead at a very strong pace. Can he live with it? Is it the wrong strategy with Pellegrino's incredible turn of pace in the last 100?
Well, I think he's a freestyler more than he is a classic racer, Ustigov, and therefore, you know, I think he might be paired up in the team sprint, but it just depends. The Russians have got quite a reservoir when you consider, you know, the likes of, well, Krukov, Panzinski. Just depends on who they think are actually on a rising curve of form. It's been an incredible pace to this point, David, but it hasn't got rid of anyone. It's the final. They're all very good and can react. Ustigov putting in a massive burst. Yeah, this is where he really scores that core strength, driving up this big hill. And look at those Russians there. They're really urging on. He's got the adrenaline rush from all those spectators. Look at the tempo of Pellegrino. He's having none of it. He can live with it. He can stay with the pain, and he's doing just that. He'll try and tuck right in behind Ustigov. And 3 away. So interesting here. Pellegrino didn't do so well in the classic at Otapa, but this is much more his cup of tea. And look at that, he's moved on to the far side. He knows where the quicker track is. That's the best racing line on the inside leading into the stadium. Ustigov needs to pick it up. And Parfanov following Pellegrino. Pellegrino and Ustigov shoulder to shoulder. Pellegrino pulling it out. There goes the turbo. There's the 7th gear. And he's pulling away from Ustigov. Parfanov can't do any more. But that's brilliant. 3rd sprint win of the season to Pellegrino. Ustigov prevails. Parfenov, very decent race, and Iversen in 6th place, slightly predictable, but Pellegrino, wearing the red of Italy, well, he's got to go and be involved in the sprints, surely, in the World Championships.
Well, do you know, David, Pellegrino is beginning to totally understand sprinting. Ustigov, I think, was so strong to use the strategy to try and break everybody, but he was never going to break Pellegrino. And that sharpness that Pellegrino has in the last 100 can beat anybody.
Yeah, interesting. Pellegrino, opening sprint of the season was in Cusamo, 7th there. That was in classic style. Then they went to altitude at Davos. Didn't do so well there. He was 11th. But then, sorry, that was in the first of the sprints. But the next day, he came back with a victory. And then, as we said, in Belmoster, a sprint victory as well, and 13th in Ottawa. So he's not that far away in terms of classic form. But here, Ustigov getting a fantastic reception from this crowd, not only for today, but also for yesterday.
How can you do a 15-kilometre at the intensity that he did yesterday, Ustigov, and then come out today 4 times around this 1.25-kilometre track and still play second? Take my hat off to him.
There. 2 there. Patukov thanking the crowd. Pellegrino also really enjoying himself. Pellegrino only 24. And that is, well, World Cup victory number 3. They only give half points in the Tour de Ski, but for me a win's a win, and that was a race in its own right. So it goes down in a strange way as actually not being a victory, because it was part of the Tour de Ski. But so the form book will say 2 wins, but actually, for my money, it's 3.
Well, you could argue all the best sprinters weren't there, but so many of the best were. Halvorsen was there, Northug was there, the big names were there, and he beat them all on that day. I think it should be classed as a World Cup win. But he certainly is the man on freestyle sprint form.
Well, there were 4 Russians in this race, but Italy proved the master, and Sweden winning the women's race. So a rare weekend when Norway is not on the top step of the podium, but that's largely, I would suggest, without any disrespect to today's winners, to do with the absenteeism of 1 or 2 really important people. Marit Bjørgen would be certainly one of them in the women's division, and of course Finn Krogh would be another with Erik Bransdal in the men's division. But you can only beat the people who turn up on the day.
You can. And Emil Iversen, he's no slouch. He is up there in the top bracket of Norwegian male sprinting, but 4.6 seconds off today. And I think that was the crazy pace from Ustigov early on. Took the sting out of Iversen's leg.
Look at that crowd, really, really good. They've made the occasion what it should be, and Pellegrino gets that victory ahead of Ustigov. And now, hopefully, we'll get a few words from the winners. That would be nice, wouldn't it, Mike? To hear, I'd like to hear from Jenny Öberg about where she thinks her future lies, and her future most immediately in relation to the World Championships, because to have the opportunity to ski in front of your own family and friends on your own snow, you don't get that more than once in a lifetime.
And as you say, our hometown.
In the World Championship, I mean.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Hopefully she has impressed her selectors enough after today that she can manage herself so well when it comes to a semi-final, a final, and obviously to win today.
Yeah, this is... Well, the World Cup standings also, there won't be huge meteoric changes to it. The absent Ingvild Flugstad-Ørsberg, who was successful in Ottawa, 385 points ahead of Marit Bjørgen and Micah Kaspersen Faller in 3rd place. Stina Nielsen, the best for Sweden, in 4th. That was before today's race. So Jenny Öberg, who doesn't even figure on the first page at the moment of the World Cup rankings, this is certainly going to put her in position, and there she is. She creeps right up there to 11th place, 126 points, but you can see not much change at the top. Well, it was a bit quick to see, blink of an eye, but Bjørgen and Østberg, and in fact Norwegians occupying, I should say, the first 3 places in the women's sprint rankings. Well, Mike, when you were actively racing, when it was cross-country or biathlon, you will have had the dream, as much as any athlete, of winning a World Cup race, and so you'll know what it's like for this young woman. You came close, but not quite close enough. But she's actually done the job. She's done the job when it matters most to put it together technically and mentally as well as anything. She's proved today that she is a real contender on the world stage and can challenge anybody. In 7th place there, Elizabeth Stevens. After that, fantastic 2nd place yesterday, up into 7th place. Steffi Böhler equaling her personal best yesterday, up into 12th place. Didn't progress today in the sprints. And Charlotte Kaller, who might have come out this weekend, hasn't. She stayed at home continuing her preparations for the World Championships. And now a chance to have a look at the men's sprint rankings, and you can see that 100 points there has catapulted Pellegrino from 4th place into 1st, ahead of the absent Finn Hagen Krogh and the likes of Erik Bransdal. So that's really a lovely boost for him to be able to wear the red sprint bib of the World Cup leader. Yeah, and just such a good tactician. He knew he had to live with the early pace and then get himself in the right position behind Ustigov. There's no way he could have stayed with the pace of the dynamic jumping up the hill from Ustigov, but he knew he had to stay close over this rise coming up. And of course there's a dress rehearsal for the World Championships at Östersund in Sweden on the final Sunday before the World Championships in a classic sprint over 1,500 meters. So that is going to be interesting to watch, although I think the decisions will have probably been made by then as to who will be representing the country. That's the overall standings. No Sundby, no Nordrug, but you can see Pellegrino there with 100 points moving into the top 15. So that's good work by him today, and he's made his trip to Russia count. Now, can we possibly get a few words from Jenny Øberg? There she is, first time in her life at senior World Cup level to stand on the top step. She's the tallest in stature, and she's now the tallest in terms of performance. And the men's podium, Pellegrino will be getting used to this now. And it's once you've tasted it, you want to just do it again and again and again. So that has been the cross-country sprint from Rybinsk. Actually, only 3 sprints left in the World Cup season. Mike? Very impressive, doing as his countryman Zorzi did many years ago, back at the top of the podium for Italy.